That's what Yatlu alayhim ayat students who are working on this. I need you to start with Abdullah bin Abbas and end with Ali bin Abi Talib. These are the two names. You're going to understand how they did Yatlu alayhim ayat under the tutelage of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you'll find out how amazing, how magnificent, how majestic, and how accurate their interpretations are of the Quran. So what Abdullah bin Abbas did, which is something which is magnificently strange, that he took the turban of that very guy who asked the question, said, "Give me your turban," and he opened the turban. And he started turning the turban, and he said, "This is how the sun will be darkened." Now, 1400 years ago, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُبِّرَتْ, Abdullah bin Abbas is holding the turban, he's turning it around, just like we tie the turban. And now we know that any star that turns into a black hole, goes into a spiral, and you can see the tail. And this star is going into its own singularity. Okay. And this star is the center of this spiral, just like turning the turban. Now, there is no telescope when Abdullah bin Abbas is telling us this. There is no concept of a black hole. There is no concept of singularity. There is no concept of how a star actually goes into its death. But this man, radiallahu anhu, is literally explaining not just the concept, but the way this concept actually happened inside space. My question is very simple. How did he do that? How did he do it so accurately? He's not a prophet. Okay. You need to understand. We cannot just put this little, magical wand in our minds and think that, Sahaba had this little na'uzubillah, magical powers. No, they didn't. They had knowledge. They had knowledge. You know how I know that? Because our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually prayed for Abdullah bin Abbas that may Allah give you the knowledge of the Quran. So much so that one day he stood on the pulpit and said, "Any question, I need you to ask me questions of the universe, the direct hadith, question of the universe, and I'm going to answer you from the Quran." So he is giving you the space science, the space program right there. Ali bin Abi Talib is giving you space program. When he says, when you read Surah Qamar, you're going to find out where the water came to flood the planet Earth at the time Noah. In the time of Noah. In the time of Noah, the flood came from a galaxy far, far away. Okay. We call it Majarra. We now call it Canis Majoris. Okay. So how does that work? How does this hadith of the Miraj work? All of these signs are given us so that we can follow these codes, we can follow the clues, and try and interpret the basis of the knowledge set. Okay, I'm just getting started. Okay, so when Abdullah bin Abbas is talking about the turning of the turban, singularity of the star, the Quran is actually talking about فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ. بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُوم means the place. Oh, I swear upon the place where the star pierces the space-time. This is the literal translation of the ayah. How do I know it is piercing? Because in Surah Tariq, Allah Azza wa Jal, the word Tariq, okay, the word Tariq, the root word is how the meaning is making piercing into a way, making a path by piercing. So how does a star pierce? Well, we know how a star pierces in space-time. That is called singularity. That is a black hole. Now, I'm not trying to tell you what to follow science. I'm telling you that it is not a Muslim job to say, "Hey, we told you so," after they do the hard work. Our job is to tell them where to go. Our job is so that whoever makes it to whatever galaxy or planet, they should be reciting the Quran that Muslims were saying this down on our planet. Their kids were telling us this. We just didn't want to believe them because we were too biased. We were using our space technology, and now we need to follow the next horizon based on whatever their knowledge. But we Muslims, we're just not giving anything. We're just waiting around for some science lab to come up with something, and we just have an "I told you so" banner that our Quran also says that. Well, why didn't we take the initiative if Quran is telling us everything and more? So I don't want you to follow physics or chemistry, biology. I want you to set precedents. Take the initiative. That's what our Muslim job is. So in other words, if Muslims do not have a space program, they're not Muslims. They're not following the path of the companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They're not doing the Yatlu alayhi ayat. Coming into Yu'allimuhum al-Kitab direction. This is can only be done. And you might have noticed I've skipped you zakihim because zakihim is the moral capital. If Muslims are not coming inside the masjid, Muslims are not praying, Muslims are not actually holding up the basis of the Sira, uh, the the pillars of the Quran, then I I hope they do not go into knowledge because their knowledge is going to make them arrogant. We need to clean ourselves from all of that, those attributes that we're that like for example, arrogance and deceit and timidity, the timidness, sorry, this cowardice, this lack of you know uh, consistency, this lack of resilience, this lack of trustworthiness. All of these, this is yuzakihim. Now, I cannot lecture you into tazkiyah. We cannot do that. We'll have to come up with training programs. I know that. We all know that. IMS is not going to be able to do the tazkiyah by just holding group forums and clubs. There's a totally different program for that. It's called Hayya al-Falah. Okay, we're calling every Muslim in the masjid and connecting all the masjids together. That's a different program under IMS. However, what I need you to do is, and you IMS UK, understand, I'm going to be presenting to you a lot of ideas and a lot of programs. They're going to be successful. Sometimes they're not going to be so successful. I need you to understand I'm working around this IMS concept so that you guys can get momentum. I'll have an easier way paved in front of you while you get there. But till you get there, you need to understand, you need to set the base right. And that base is these 4 compartments. Okay. Well, I'll get to hikmah later, because hikmah is the methodology of how to operate, the modus operandi of how to make those decisions, what kind of decisions, what kind of technique to actually, get to wherever you need to be from wherever you are. Now, this is hikmah, in my opinion, of how to actually get everybody together. Intellectual warfare, psychological warfare. That's simple. Now, what do I need for this? Well, I need your kids. I literally need your kids, especially who are 12 years of age and more. Okay. They're going to start these forums. They're going to actually jump into understanding books. They're going to put that book into some utility. And unless we start to challenge the current status quo of the education system, we're not going to be able to do that because physics today, mathematics today. While we're talking, I'm going to send you a book, actually, right after this meeting. This book is written by a Muslim scholar. It's called The Ultimate Mathematics. We're teaching that in our school, in Source Code Academy. And you need to understand how Muslims, when they look at the Muslim scholars who understand mathematics, these people are, capable of winning the Fields Medal. They're so good at mathematics. But when they're going to the Quran, they find out that, the mathematics of human beings is not even close to what the Quranic mathematics, the structure of the Quran is based on. All of that is based on very advanced level of mathematics. Let me give you an example so that you will understand why you need to go through that book. That book is part of the curriculum of our kids who are actually literally a 7, 8-year-old. That's, those are the students of source code. I need you to actually understand why IMS needs to take up that not everybody can afford source code. So we need to spread it around. And source code students are going to, inshallah, become teachers of IMS. And that's what the purpose and vision of source code is, so that students become teachers. So when you look at the history of mathematics, and you can see, and you can Google it up and find out, and whoever knows mathematics knows what I'm talking about, that we recently came up with the concept of Gaussian prime. Now, Gaussian prime is as latest as human beings' intellect has gone into mathematics. Now, after we discovered Gaussian primes, we find out that Gaussian primes is the table on which the Quran is laid out. The Quran is laid out on the Gaussian primes. So just because now I know what Gaussian prime table is, now I can know what the next huruf muqatta'at after alif lam mim is going to be, because it is going to follow the Gaussian prime table. Now, the Quran is already set on the Gaussian prime. We just discovered it. The mathematicians just discovered it. I'm just giving you a drop out of the ocean, not even a drop out of the ocean, so that you guys can understand what kind of a treasure chest we had. And look what we did with this. Look what we did with the Quran. So unless we reach that sort of excellence, that sort of expertise and competence in the Quran and the Sirah, we won't be able to do yu'allimuhum al-kitab. Yu'allimuhum al-kitab is a natural psychological disposition. We aggregate under the system. We bow to the system of the person who's smarter than us. It is common sense. That's the working of serotonin. That's the prime chemical, hierarchy of dominance. We're naturally going to be under the system of whoever is reaching for the stars, smarter from amongst us. So if you don't do yatlu alayhim, you're not going to be able to do yu'allimuhum kitab. You're not going to be able to enforce the law, because we only follow the law of the people who have higher brain power than us. That's just common sense. That's why our kids don't run away from our homes, because they know we're smarter than them, and we tell them not to run away. And as soon as they think they're smarter than us, they do run away. That's just common sense. Okay. So what we do is we take this psychology, we put that on our drawing boards. We have already done that. And we start preparing content for all of this so that people can understand the working of how human beings behave, and they can gain knowledge, gain IQ, and start discussing with other people. And everybody comes inside the Quran. That's it. Quran is the epitome of our knowledge, epitome of our political system, epitome of our hikmah, epitome of our tazkiyah. There is no other way. So this is what IMS is. I hope everybody is very clear of what we're trying to do, why we're trying to do it, and how we're trying to do this. It's it is the most simple way of explaining to you guys that if you don't want to go through this, you're naturally going to go through the same things, but for some other book. You're naturally going to behave like this. Everyone naturally behave like this. We're just telling you how they behave. The Quran is telling us how they behave. The Prophet is telling us how they behave. And the whole eschatology is telling us how we're going to behave. So we behave like this. We've been behaving like this from Adam al-Islam's firstborn till the lastborn. This is going to be the same graph. We just want to put the Quran right in the middle and make everybody behave around this, because they are going to behave the way they behave. If the Quran is not calling the shots on competence, expertise, knowledge structures, then no one's going to gain enough skill for the Quran, around the Quran, about the Quran, within the Quran. No one's going to do that. We're going to go to some other science, some other mathematics, some other space program, some other political program, some other in knowledge set, because those people will be deemed more credible than our kids 60 years from now, 100 years from now. It's that simple. I hope I broke it down for everybody to understand how simple things are. We just have a way of, you know, going towards something, thinking something is so appealing just because it's complex. It's not complex. The hierarchy of dominance is going to play its part, and whatever physics or biology or mathematics is going to find with chemistry, chemistry is going to win. It's a human chemistry. And Allah was saying, you want to know, look upstairs in the heavens and look inside you. You're going to find the same thing. And then you're going to find out the Quran is the book of Haqq. That's the only and absolute truth. So what is up there and what is within me? I can give you 100 similarities between the galaxy, whatever the operation of the structures and the phenomena and the mechanism, and the same mechanism with us. And we haven't even, broken the first layer of how the brain works. I want our kids to understand how the brain works. I'm just telling you human behavior. That's not the brain, that's the mind. So you need to understand, we have not even scratched the surface as human beings. We need to go deep. We need to understand our book. We need to explore it and be so eloquent in presenting it to the planet. How are we going to do that? We're going to discuss every bits of it. And we're going to use any and every person of knowledge, be it a Muslim or not Muslim. And we're going to gain our IQ and make sure it transfers to our kids. So hopefully in about 5 years, a little less, maybe more, I don't know, wallahu, we will be in IMS sponsoring our kids to go to Cambridge, go to Harvard, go to Yale, go to any and every part of the corner of the planet, wherever this knowledge is available, and come back, because we need to develop our kids. IMS is going to become a community very soon. If we can become a community, then we can sponsor any and every kind of program, not just the space program, but the human space program as well, the human capital program. So what we can actually do is start from us, my own self, my Khatija and my home, my Ali, go to my Abu Bakr, and then start moving towards the rest of the world. I hope I've clarified the vision. I hope I've given enough uh, understanding of what IMS is and what my expectation is. And this is just a plea so everybody can actually just empathize with your own kids. That's it. Nobody else, just your own kids. So that you can understand that unless we give our kids all of whatever we can, they're not going to go into the Quran. They've already started to move away from it because of whatever's happening on the internet. Everyone is so eloquent except the Muslims. Every product, every machinery, every technology, every piece of knowledge, every speaker is so eloquent except the Muslims. That's why our kids are running around trying to pose in front of us as our kids and our philosophy mates, but they're naturally going to go inside their own bedrooms, open YouTube, follow some guy who's going to seem more credible. Obviously, he's going to be way more than us because we're not opening that book. They are opening some book. Okay. So understand. I wish I could play you videos here of the smartest people in the world right now talking about the deeper problems. And I'll tell you, I swear to God, those are the problems solved by the Quran. The Quran is talking about the Sahabas used to present this to the planet. So unless we do it, I'm telling you, someone else will, and they're not going to do it for the Quran because human beings behave like this. That's that's the simple truth. That's how it's going to happen to my kids. And if your kids are not going to take the lead, then my kids, they're going to follow the lead of somebody else. If my kids are not going to take the lead, your kids are going to take the follow the lead of somebody else. And that dude is not going to be a Muslim. I promise you this. He's not going to teach you the Quran, or he's not going to introduce our Prophet ﷺ to that guy. He's going to be introducing a lot of other prophets. They're not going to be sent by God. They're going to be prophets of, the current world order. And there are many. There are many. I tell you this. I know them. I know some of them. There are many. Okay. So it's time to divorce this little clutter of whatever attempt and, uh, uh, trials and experiments of what human beings are doing and go to the actual source of knowledge. Now is the time. Yes, sir. I hope everybody's clear.